Hi, everyone. Noah here with Full Balance Fitness. And today I'm here with my close friend and client, Laura.
Hello?
And just some quick backstory with Laura. She and I have been training the better part of a decade, and she's seen a lot of results in the gym. And this helped a lot with her lifestyle. And so we're going to chat about that today. So, the
Okay.
first question I wanted to ask you would be what gave you a desire to exercise and to get fit?
Well, after 30 years of working in an office and being on else's schedule, I found myself in a less than healthy place. I was not the weight or appearance I wanted to be, and I had a wellness exam where, for the first time, all of my numbers were almost bad. Yeah, they were right at the top end of the range. And I didn't want to live a life on medication or using medication to solve my problems.
Yep.
So I knew that I had to change my lifestyle. And I had the good fortune of being able to sort of step away from work. So I had the time, I had the means to, invest effort into working out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And I,
awesome.
and I wanted to be able to, I found myself as always, not the best person on a tour group, so always at the end of the pack, um, and just witnessing people around me that were starting to have. I was in my early to mid 50s when I decided this, um, but I was seeing people in their 60s and 70s just having very sedentary lifestyles, and I just didn't want that for myself.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
remember very early on we spoke about your health age. We spoke about this a little bit yesterday too, how
yeah,
your health age could have easily been 5, 10, 15 years older than you actually were. So now you're 5, 6 years older than you were when you got into the gym scene, yet your
yeah.
body is probably functioning as if it's younger.
Yeah, I just turned 59 2 weeks ago, and I generally would say I feel better, most certainly than any other period in my 50s.
Yep,
Um, but if I'm honest with myself, even back to maybe 45.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed with that. And the other question I want to ask would be when you got into the gym, obviously I know, but for everyone
Mhm.
watching, what did you accomplish?
Well, so I've gone to gyms before, just throughout my life. But I sort of went to the machine I liked and kind of played around on that for 10 minutes
That
and then
sounds
went
familiar.
on. And so I had no discipline. And when I say discipline, I don't even mean like, oh, this is hard. I mean, I had no organization, I had no objective, I had no
Yep.
roadmap to what I wanted to. I didn't know if what I was doing was even the right thing for me. So starting out in the gym, first of all, I mean, I was just terrified to go to the gym. And so I developed a comfort level of um, just going and doing things sort of out in public
Yep.
to that degree. And just um, I mean, I'm sorry for stumbling, but I learned so many different things. So I'm stuck on where.
Yeah.
So I'll start with, I mean, I would say, just in my own journey, we started more so, I think, with body weight, I think would be uh, I had to get used to how to move my body, how to, so that I don't hurt myself.
Yep.
I have um, forgot the
Sensitive.
word, well, I have osteoarthritis, so I don't have much cartilage in my right knee, and that often hurts me when I do things. Well, that's because I wasn't using the right muscles or standing the right way
Yep.
to use it. I am on no pain medication. I am on no shots. I am on no whatever. That's probably one of the greatest things that I got is my knee doesn't hurt me in everyday life because I've strengthened the muscles
Yep.
around the knee and I use my body better. So awareness of my body, using my body better is definitely a gym result that I've had. Of course, I lost weight.
How much?
By the way, 100 pounds. Um, and never did I think. But I think more importantly is maybe not every day of the last 6 years, but I've generally kept that 100 pounds off.
Mhm.
I've lost weight before and gained it all back within 3 months, which is my understanding is what the norm is for people.
Well, and I want to say that I think it's very normal to have a lot of
Yeah.
fluctuations. But what is it? The statistic last I read said something like 95% of people who lose weight gain all of it back. And so I think the all word is super important.
Yeah, it's definitely up around the 90s for sure,
Yeah.
and it's different time periods. It's like 40% fail in the first, gain it back in a month or 3 months, and but it's like by a year.
Yep.
And
And so in your case, you've had little fluctuations. I mean, Laura's
yeah,
moved and
yeah, just the life happens, and you know, just
and to
yeah,
refrain from acknowledging that, I think is the thing that gets people into a lot of trouble.
yeah. Well, refrain from acknowledging it. I mean, but I also believe strongly in personal accountability. Not talking about being super. Sometimes you are hard on yourself, but I'm talking about realizing, like, yes, life happens, but then sometimes you just have to realize, wait, I can control this,
Yeah.
and just go back to your basics of what works for you, finding what works for you.
Yep.
We worked really hard on trying to figure out what works best for me. But at my time in life, where I'm in my 50s, and everything you read about kind of what happens to women's bodies after 50, yeah, like sometimes I really felt like I was fighting that. but it was just meant I had to tweak what I was doing. Didn't mean that I was going to fail at what I was doing.
Yeah.
And when I say life also happens, is I try really hard um, to not use life as an excuse.
Yep.
Um, I'd be careful using that word because, like sometimes people have genuine reasons why they have a restriction from doing something, and I
Yep.
respect that. But I know my life situation. I am a very fortunate person. And so in my case, some of those things were excuses. And I just had to, once I recognized that it was an excuse, I was able to sort of knock it down and do better for
Yeah.
myself, my
Yep.
definition of better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell people this a lot. I just did a video on this recently that, I've gained 60 pounds since I started working out.
Mm-hmm.
And 50 pounds of it, I believe, is muscle. Some of it's going to be water weight and things of that nature. My bone density from working out is probably greater. So
Yeah, but how come when I gain weight, it's not muscle?
yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah. Well, I think that that's another thing, a little bit of a tangent, but I think
Yeah.
it's incredible that, for example, in your first, what was it, 8 months, 12 months, you had lost the majority of your weight.
Yes, I lost the weight yeah. I had big numbers. It was, 15 to 20 pounds a month for
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And we'll get
Yeah.
into that in a little bit. Crazy good, crazy risky in some ways. But I think what's incredible as far as the gaining muscle thing is, she had gone down and she had dropped the 100. And then pretty early on in that second year, maybe third year, you had gained like 5 to 10 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
but you looked very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think obviously that's proof of muscle. But at the
Yeah.
same time, to correlate with that, you were able to gain strength in your movements too. So
Oh,
second of,
I mean, certainly. And you said something there about, well, I said, I mean, I said it that I lost the weight quickly, and that can be risky. Um, but I think because I was working out and strength training, which is what a lot of women my age, because we all go to, look, I go to the elliptical too, but we all go to the treadmill and the elliptical, and then that just makes you lose good things too. And I think I was shedding water and weight and inflammation
Yep.
So even though I was losing weight fast, every month I was stronger and felt better.
Yeah.
So I never like lost weight to weakness. I
Yeah.
was only getting stronger the whole time. So that is important.
Yeah, true. And when I went to college for
Yeah.
this, I found that, they typically recommend 8 to 10 pounds a
Yeah.
month max. But I think it's really a personal thing too.
And
You're
it's a
going to lose.
ratio to your body,
Yep.
not just your overall weight, but your height and
So in month one,
yeah,
you're not going to lose the same amount as you're going to in,
right.
month 12,
Yeah.
for example.
And someone who's almost, depends on who you believe, but someone almost 5'10", you know, versus someone 5'2", that your body's going to be able to handle things
Yep.
differently.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say with
Mhm.
my own results is that, when I gained 50, 60 pounds, a lot of that came very quickly. But I noticed that I would get into I would fluctuate a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So I'm weighing about 200 pounds now, but we all go through stages in life. And so I got to the point where I was building my house with Elizabeth.
Yeah.
We're going crazy on it. And I took a few months off from the gym. Was my diet just right? No, unfortunately. And so I lost, fat and muscle included, I lost roughly 20 pounds in a 6 month period. But I got right back on the bandwagon and gained that weight back and then some in a few months. Most of it being muscle, thank God. So I think that that's the thing, is we're going to go through stages in our lives, but it's really important we're really honest with ourselves on, okay, what's just slacking and what's a really good purpose. If you're going through a move, I don't expect you to
Yeah.
eat 6 meals a day and train 3-4 days a week during that time. But right when you're done, be honest with yourself. Hey, I'm in a better place now. Let's get right back on it. So,
Yeah. Well, one thing I do try to do, and so I am hopefully moving soon. So that's a relevant
yeah,
example, but it's the best that I can. Like, so I do multiple small meals a day, and that will be hard, but as much as I can prepare. And so that every meal, so even like I recently did a road trip, if I can make breakfast and lunch okay, or make breakfast and dinner okay, have prepared light foods, then that little splurge to give you a treat doesn't hurt. But if all three meals were
yep,
wrong, so yeah, you learn the tricks
yeah,
for yourself.
agreed.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say on the subject is 100 pounds is super impressive.
Yeah.
So it's great we're talking about it. And then my next question is, how would you say, just overall, whether mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, however, how has your life changed since you got into better shape? What impact did that make?
Well, if I had to pick one thing that was sort of most important, and it's confidence. But I want to make it clear, it's not confidence because I think I look better or about my appearance, but it's confidence because I think I was afraid to do things because I was afraid my body couldn't handle it. And so it's I'm already an independent person, but it's really given me more confidence in being independent, whether it is, doing things around the house, carrying my 40-pound salt pellet bags, or at 55, taking ski lessons for the first time,
Yep.
and
So it's not just
learning
confidence,
how
it's
to ski.
competence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's just being afraid to use and move my body for the things I want to do in life. That's really important. My part of that is that my overall health, my annual wellness exams are, super easy. Oh yeah, we don't have to do that blood work for 2 years because, they're not monitoring something. It's all within range.
Yep.
So all of those goals. And yeah, so it's really, I think overall good health and confidence just to um, to handle daily life and to, explore. And so it was ski lessons, horseback riding, yeah, just able to enjoy life more.
Yep. You led a hike with Elizabeth and I yesterday, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, as you mentioned formerly, you were in the
I'd
back
be,
of the pack.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Although he's 30 years younger than me, he did take the lead.
At times.
Yes,
At
just
times.
to be honest.
Yeah. At times.
Although I was super fast on the downhill.
Yeah. Yeah. We could have jogged if it wasn't muddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. The
Yeah,
capability is a big thing.
I think I don't know if I missed something. I mean, you obviously know me for 6 years. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
I don't
think I
know.
missed something.
Yeah. I mean, just overall, I think it helps a lot with mental health. I think it helps a lot with,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, confidence just sounds like one word and it doesn't sound really big, but everybody's motivated and to, whatever it is, if it's work, if it's relationships, if it's, just whatever it is. But confidence, um, if I have a tendency to be self-limiting in my, um, you know, I can't do that, or even to do this, I'll admit I was nervous because who wants to hear what I have to say? That's a confidence issue. Um, whether or not to go out on the ski slope, like, oh, I was never able to do this. It's all self-limiting,
yep.
and so that confidence just opens up the world
Yep. I heard
to.
a respected figure in the health and bodybuilding community. They said that doing this, exercising, just opens the doors to so many different things, and that's so true.
So going back to the question, and this relates, the two questions relate. Why did I get started? In my family, two people of all the generations that I know, two people lived into their 80s. Everyone else in my family died in their 70s. Heart disease, one to cancer, mostly old age, old age in the 70s. Meanwhile, 2 years ago, I went to Morocco with someone who was 80 and she climbed up on a camel all by herself. That's who I want to be. And that's what losing the weight, less even the weight, more the conditioning and the weight training and being consistent in it gave me. Where I used to look at, I'm in my 50s, oh, what do I have? 20 years left? Now I work with my financial planner, planning to, I think they make me plan to 96. And now it seems realistic
Yep.
that I have maybe 40 years, not 20 years left.
Yep.
That's what I got.
That's a huge blessing.
Yeah.
And I think before I get to the next question, thinking of like, adaptation into your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you were going to be getting on a horse, and so we literally just
Yes.
trained. We were talking about the other day, trained swinging your leg over something. I don't
Over
even
the
remember
big
what it
yoga
was.
ball.
Yeah, and like seriously, it's a big deal to feel confident and capable in all of your movements. And so I'd say that's whether you're 20 years old, 50 years old, 80 years old, that's a really good goal to have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people, this is going to maybe sound silly to some people, but during the summer, I spent a great deal of time on the East Coast. So I had driven east with a friend, but I couldn't coordinate with friends or family, anyone to drive back. And this, I don't know, like, I mean, it wasn't a physical, well, it is a physical challenge, the endurance of kind of driving for 8 or 10 hours a day.
Yep.
But I had no doubt in my confidence. Everyone's like, you're driving back from Pennsylvania to Utah by yourself? And, I did in 4 days. I put a little vacation in there. And someone who's not healthy doesn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true. Very good point.
Yeah. I mean, because it's not about all the great big things. It's just even the little things in life that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well put.
Yeah.
And then my next question is, for you, I would say primarily like mentally,
Hmm.
what is it like making such a dramatic transformation?
So I would say that, I mean, overall, I mean, for my mental health, it just improved. But I'll be honest, I mean, there were a few things where, maybe after, like, I knew I was keeping off the weight, and I did things like I moved from Florida to here to Utah, and I was, hiking and um, snowshoeing and skiing and just doing physical things that on a regular basis that I didn't do before. And there were moments where I thought, why didn't I do this 20 years ago? And so to 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 really just say, forget, like, don't focus on the regrets.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And so the same thing with the little flows or the ups and downs that you have just in life's journey.
Yep.
Just you got to forget the downs when you can, and just focus. So that was a surprising sort of negative moment, but that was like early on, and I just realized it was uh, not me. It was also weird that I moved sort of right um, as I lost the weight.
Yep.
So it's interesting is that everybody that met me here didn't know me before. So that somewhat helped me to, I mean, I'm not telling everyone who lose weight just to move away from their friends and families, but it was an added benefit, and it allowed me to sort of say, hey, this is who I am
A transformed
now.
self
And I'm not
image.
saying your weight is your identity, not at all. But I wasn't the health and of the ability that I wanted to be.
Yep.
And for me, it was weight. Weight was a large part of what was holding back my goals.
Yep.
And so, um,
It comes down to best self,
yeah.
pretty much.
So sort of resetting and just saying, yeah, like this is who I am now, and this is what I can do. And yeah, that was really um, freeing, and in a yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. And I think that aligns a lot with the self image thing.
yeah.
So, for example, when I weighed 140 pounds at
Mm,
5'11 at 18 years old, and I was like, I have to make a change, right? And I added in that first year about 35 pounds. And I still, in so many ways, felt like I was that skinny kid. And so I had to, similarly, I had moved from Wisconsin to Florida after
mhm,
that first year, that big
yeah,
dramatic transformation. And so everyone knew me as this new person.
yeah,
And so it did help. And I know a lot of
yeah,
people who, whether they have to or not. Well, I'll use my brother-in-law as an example. He had lost about 40 pounds of fat, and he was type 2 diabetic, but really bad diabetic. We're going to have him on the channel soon. He's going to tell his story on how, he met my dad and I, and we helped cure him of everything, and he's all good. But his mom one time was very offended by him losing weight.
mm,
God rest her soul. She looked at him and she said, I know who you really are. You can't pretend you're better. Right. And so in some cases, we either have to distance ourselves from those people, or we move, or we just, even if we're around those people, we get better at blocking out the noise and just, looking
yeah,
ourselves in the eye, in the mirror, and we say, we are who we choose to be. We're going to believe this thing. We are
yeah,
this new person. That's important. Yeah.
yeah. No, not exactly the same thing, but I think similar sort of conversations in my life, and I think it's also everybody gets defensive. I get defensive, and so that's what comes out in those conversations. And But what everyone has to realize, it's their own journey,
Yep.
and other people, so you have to, you know, I struggle with how to sort of talk about it, because it's really important not to be like, well, you should do this because I did this.
Yep.
Because it's not about what I did, it's about what they want to do or need to do. And the same thing for me. It was really tried hard at the time not to compare myself to other people.
Yep.
It's just about, what am I trying to do for myself?
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
actually this brings up something I really wanted to bring up to
Mm-hmm.
everyone watching. This is one of the funniest things is the opinion that, you know, if that person, let's say you hire a personal trainer at a box gym, for example, or online, and there's a trainer training
Mm-hmm.
somebody and the trainer looks like this and does these exercises, everyone thinks that that trainer is going to train that person the same exact
Mm-hmm.
way.
Right.
Similarly with family or friends, people think that just because you do these things or just because you got in shape this way, you think everyone else around you has to, and they don't, which I think is interesting. But how is that for you, meeting a young guy, personal trainer in his
Yeah.
20s, totally different goals, totally different
Mm-hmm.
physique? I believe you did, but did you ever have that worry of, wait, is he going to train me to look like him? You know, that type of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, yeah, there's probably a lot of little funny stories um, about that. Me worrying about bulking up, um, where I'm not quite working that hard, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. But no, most certainly, when I was introduced to you, I thought, how is this? Uh, you were 21 at the time.
Yep. I was
Yeah,
just a
I
kid.
was in my 50s, and I was like, what? How, how are we going to work together? And we had conversations early on, whether it be just even, well, I'll use a simple one. We determined you can't ever say I'm doing great, because somehow that word just shuts my mind off, and I stop doing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not exactly the same thing, but I know I was very worried as a woman who was postmenopause, trying to lose weight at the time when they say it's so hard for women to lose weight. And then here's a young guy. How is he going to understand this? How is he going to understand how I feel in my skin? What makes me feel insecure in the public training section of the gym? And and you told me about your teenage years when you felt smaller then, and we joke about it all the time, because when Noah says he has to gain weight and I have to, you know work at maintaining, that sort of drives me crazy. But we're actually subconsciously, inwardly, we're experiencing the same thing. Like, we're not happy about something, like we're experiencing the same psychological
Yeah. That's
issue in
that.
the same body. It's just a different perspective, and everyone's perspective is a little different. And and um and then also, just, I think, just the personal qualities. Noah's empathetic, and um, and listened, and knew when to push and not to push, and when to be cheerful and when to be less cheerful. Never angry, just less cheerful. To create an environment that helps me focus on um, what I need to put effort into.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that, you know, your person who is at least 20 pounds underweight, you know, their ribs and their spine are showing, maybe they have, you know, thin blood, let's
Mhm.
say. That person could be just as at risk or more at risk of having adverse health conditions as the person who's 20 pounds, 30 pounds,
Yeah.
40 pounds overweight. Maybe they have thick blood, that type of thing. Both of those things are dangerous or less healthy, less
Yeah.
optimal. And so both of those people need to make a change. And I said it before, and I'm sure I'll find a better phrase to coin, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to body sculpt, or everyone
Yeah.
wants to shape the body and the health that they want. And, whether that's gaining or losing weight. Primarily, that would be in all cases gaining muscle and losing fat, whether we're talking 5 pounds or 50 pounds or 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting because I mean, I sort of, for lack of a better word, I judged a book by its cover, right? I just saw you as a young guy. What would he know?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, while we were working together around other people, there were trainers in the area who were closer to my age, but I could tell by the way they worked with their clients, and they worked with their clients the same way, because I would do a double session with Noah. So maybe I would sometimes see that trainer with two different clients, and I would hear him saying the same thing
Mm.
to both of them. But I think working with you, you weren't saying, oh, you're working with me, we do these 10 things.
Yep.
You were saying, okay, what are you trying to achieve? What are you doing? And then I think, maybe it wasn't even something that you were ready, but you adapt it when you realize what I was so nervous about.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, it was almost like physical therapy
Mm-hmm.
prior to the weight training.
Yeah.
So getting me comfortable with the body movement, working on my flexibility. We spend a lot of time stretching and this and that. It wasn't just, okay, now handle these weights and do this. So I think that was all the things that kind of broke down that kind of initial kind of first impression that, you don't have to work with someone just like you. It's really just someone who has the same interest, same work ethic. We talk about it, just same value system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple quick things I'll say before the
Mm-hmm.
next question, because this ties into what you were saying. And I really like what you just said. Two things. One, I was really blessed by the time we met that I had trained hundreds of female clients, most of which were postmenopause,
Mm-hmm.
most of which honestly were like in their 60s and 70s. And, even male clients who had a lot of joint issues. I even had male clients in their 80s. And so I really was able to, well, this takes me to my second point, which will cap that off. For better or for worse, I was known as the chameleon trainer, where I would adapt to whatever the client needed. And, a lot of times, a lot of the trainers I was around, they were more educated than I was. In fact, to this day, they probably are. But they had their style of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I one of the trainers I learned the most from, he was in physical therapy, and one of the most educated guys I ever knew. And he said, he told his story, and he had broken his back when he was like 20 years old, and he had to rehab his back and do all that. And so he would train every client like he trained himself when he rehabbed his back. Even if Phyllis came in, she was 60 and she wanted to lose 50 pounds, he was training her on rehab exercises as if she had broken her back. Same thing with an ex-military guy I knew, and he used to train people in military drills. Whether someone wanted to gain muscle or lose fat or both, they all did the same drill every single time. And I really wanted I knew, like, for example, you'd be on the treadmill an hour after a training session. You would see me train two or three other people
Mm-hmm.
after you. And it was very important for me, not just from a practical standpoint, but from a visual and I guess like emotional and mental standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
for you and for other people to see that like everyone's unique. They should have their own
Yeah.
style. And so I'd change it up for everybody because I think that that's really important.
Yeah. Well, all those things that you just described, like the techniques of using the same process for all of their clients, they might as well teach a group class. And you know what I think about group classes.
Yeah. Agreed. I should do a video on that on the day. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question,
Mm-hmm.
last two. How did you, or how do you achieve balance and avoid extremes when getting into shape?
Well, all right. I mean, it really varies, and it was different. So I will start to say I'm one of the few people that I think really achieved a benefit from the COVID lockdowns, because with restaurants closed and just uh, being in my kitchen, I really had several months of really learning what I can do and what I should do, and that was really good practice. So for me, um, I'm not. I don't love cooking. I don't hate cooking. I cook. I have to cook. Sometimes I have a little bit of fun with it. Especially cooking for myself. But um, if I get really busy, it's so easy not to do the right thing. So for me, being prepared and planning out my week.
Yep.
So I do a lot of food prep. Um, Sometimes twice a week. It's definitely once a week, but I do eat a lot of salad and produce, so it's a little hard to keep that for a week. So I sort of have to do it twice a week.
Yep.
Um,
Same.
Proteins. So really, planning. I personally, for myself, have to keep a good pantry in the sense that, you know, be honest, if it's there, I'm going to eat it. So I'm not someone, yes, if I have company coming in, I'm going to have treats for company. I, um, I, I plan them out, um, or I buy them right before the people come instead of um, uh, just having them around. So for me, it is about setting up my kitchen in a way that just makes it very easy for me to grab.
Yep.
Because the thing is, I actually love all the healthy foods. It's just that sometimes I don't like washing vegetables and cutting them up to have them with hummus. Yep. Instead of grabbing a cracker and cheese. So if I have everything cut up, then I'm really happy. Red pepper and hummus is as good to me as many snacks.
Yeah.
So doing that, and then planning out. I mean, obviously, I'm very loyal to and dedicated to the weight training. So we do that at least 3 times a week. Yep. And then I try to commit to a certain amount of cardio. What I have found for me is sometimes I can get up and go every day and I don't even think about it. And then sometimes there's external factors that, I don't know, make me just not feel like it. When I do go, I'm always realized it makes me feel better. And I would have gotten out of that mindset quicker if I went, but I don't get mad at myself for not doing it. But if I make sure I go, in different weeks, it's different times, but at least 2 or 3 times a week. So, because I do find for me, sometimes the diet can slide a little bit. That's okay. Very easy to sort of bounce back from, or sometimes the cardio. But when the two decline at the same time, it takes a little bit longer to bounce back.
Yep.
And I've also learned for me, um, a lot of people, and look, even you thought I weighed myself too much.
Mm-hmm. Most people do.
But everybody is different. Every body is different. And we talked about it. I have broader shoulders, I have broader hips, I'm tall. Weight can sneak into different parts of my body without, so I can gain 5 or 10 pounds and still wear the same pair of pants.
Yep.
So just monitoring my clothes, So I do better when I think I'm psychotic if I weigh myself 2 or 3 times a week.
Yep.
Like that's not healthy. But if I at least weigh myself once a week or a couple times a month, I'm going to maintain,
Yep.
because it's pretty easy to be like, oh, I'm going to take care of that pound, than to say, oh, I'm going to take care of that 10 pounds.
Yep.
And that sneaks up. So I do prep, I do monitor for balance. And I'm not perfect at it. And sometimes, yeah, I fall off and then I get back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you have your
I know.
training.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I do. And I do try, um, I mean, I have balance in that. I enjoy it less than I used to, but I mean, I still go out to restaurants. Still go out for drinks and go to friends' houses and things like that. Um, and I just one thing about being around an active community, I think a lot of people are pretty. I'm fortunate that they're pretty focused. Like people, you see a lot. People tend to eat on the healthier side, but when I do indulge, fortunate that most of my friends are all good at sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember the last time, say, that I had a burger that I ate the whole burger myself.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just more than I need. The portion's just too big, but share it and then it's not so bad. So,
Yeah.
so sharing is an important part of my balance too.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
like you have good balance. And especially the last couple months,
Yeah.
I've been really impressed with your routine. When you first started, though, like, let's not overlook this. When you first started, when I first started, for example, we both had extremes. So my extreme that I had, which I think that the more you learn, the more
Mm-hmm.
educated you become, the more experienced you become in fitness and
Mm-hmm.
nutrition, all that, the less the extremes have to be, the less the extremes will be because you know more.
Yeah.
But for myself, I was eating up to 7,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
That was
I
crazy.
really hate when he says that.
Yeah, me too. And, really, honestly, I probably at the time with my metabolism needed more like 4,500 calories. So, yeah, I was in thousands of calorie
Yeah.
surplus each day. And so that was one extreme. The other was I was hitting the same muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, which I'm against. A lot of people aren't, but I am. And because we're talking general fitness, we're talking general health, you don't need to be training your muscles 2 to 3 days a week. But for you,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you were in a several hundred calorie a day deficit
Mm-hmm.
for the first several months. You
Mm-hmm.
also spent a lot of time on cardio, but you also were good at listening to your body. So I guess if you could give the audience some advice, I guess, on how maybe manage your extremes, that would be amazing.
Um, I think I think I have an answer to that. For me, I do. There's, it's not just about what I eat and what I exercise. So it's the things in between, so that those are effective. So um, early on, probably because of the physical exercise, the uptake in physical exercise, I think I was really tired every night, and I got like great night sleeps of 8 and 9 hours a night. Um, I I don't know, since living at altitude, which affects sleep, I rarely ever get to like 8 solid 9 hours, but I do really, I mean, for myself, I really do try to get 7 to 8 hours um, of, of sleep a night, and I'm dedicated to that. And I wake up at 4:45 because there's a 2 hour difference between us when I train with Noah. So if you go to bed at 4:45, that means, to get 8 hours sleep, I need to be in bed around 9. And when it's light out until 9 o'clock, that's hard. but I'm dedicated to that. That sleep's really important. Um, I try to focus on, I don't know why it's my thing I struggle with because it's enjoyable, but it's only because you have to get wet and change your clothes. But using the hot tub and doing the Epsom salt soaks in the, just leave me more capable and more limber, and makes the stretching and the exercise more effective. Um, so the sleep, the recovery, the stretching, that is truly probably the thing that when I'm not, that on a daily basis I have to get better at. That is not a strength that I have. It's a knowledge I have. But to be honest, I need to just get up in the morning and stretch,
Yeah.
because I know when I do, I feel a ton better.
Yeah.
And then the stretching, and then of course, the exercise, and trying to just find fun activities to do, whether it's walks or bikes or the winter sports.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, well,
I don't
this,
know if you were
yeah,
looking for
well,
something else.
this ties into my last
Okay.
question. So that's fine. We'll tackle the two. What would your final piece of advice be
Oh, that's right.
for someone who is trying to get healthier, where I guess the
Yeah.
biggest thing is they need to listen to their body, they need to
Yeah.
have their own style? What would your advice be for them? That'll correlate.
Yeah. I think really instrumental to me was for on the calorie side. I mean, mine might be a little bit extreme because I do 7 small meals a day, and I don't particularly know. We talked about it. I don't know the science, I don't know what scientific studies proved it, but it seems to very much work for me when I'm, for lack of a better word, when I'm in the zone and it's so easy and I'm really not even thinking about it. Um, the idea behind the small meals is that I'm evening out the calories across the day, the calories, the macronutrients, particularly the protein, are even out. So my body's processing and absorbing it. Because if I sat down and ate, half a rotisserie chicken right now, wow, I'd get a lot of protein, but so much of it would be wasted and not used.
Yep.
But so eating um, throughout the day, and then those meals are 150 to 200 calories. Um, if I don't eat for another 2 hours, just normal activity will help me burn. So then if you add in exercise, then you create that deficit.
Rather than having 3 meals at 500
Right.
calories and you wonder
Yeah.
if you're going to utilize all that
Yeah.
energy.
And I tell you early on, for actual the weight loss period, forget the science of whether or not you're getting the protein. As somebody, so many people who have to cut calories to lose weight, they claim, I know people in my family, they claim, oh, I'm hungry and this and that. I was anywhere from 1,100 to 1,300 calories a day, and I was never hungry. Sometimes I would be extremely satisfied, and I use an app. I look at my app, and it would say I was only at 800 calories, and I knew I had to eat another 400 calories, and I was honestly like, oh my gosh, I am not hungry.
Yeah.
But that's because the multiple meals, I was never getting to hunger.
Yep.
And I remember somewhere I took a nutrition class, and they said, a lot of people like, oh, they skip a meal and they get really hungry and they think I'm just going to eat a second piece of chicken because it's going to fill me up. But that it doesn't. I sort of lost my point there, but that doesn't really work.
Mhm.
The small, like always keeping yourself satisfied, is more
Yeah. Yeah,
significant.
grazing in a
Yeah,
way. Yeah, just
yeah,
I've heard people say grazing is super important,
yeah.
where you just like snack all day,
But
but
not
then
mindless
also,
grazing, which is the
yeah,
the tricky thing. So, I mean, I really do think, like, I mean, obviously the exercise. I mean, you do the right exercises. I think most people understand that. But for food and still enjoying food, finding things that were small that I can reach into my cabinet or my refrigerator and have my small meal and move on. So planned grazing, I would just say, was extremely vital to me.
yep.
I don't think I would have lost the weight if we did not. And it's so funny is it's something I share with everybody I know. And I will be honest, I don't think I've convinced one person, which I don't understand. You know, they all know me. They had similar struggles, but why they think it was not hard. It was not hard. And I think that
It's just about setting up your process.
yeah, I
You know,
really do think the meal planning and there's all different fads and trends, um, but and especially with the various meats or whatever. But I lean protein,
yep.
lean protein. I'm sorry, 99% lean ground turkey can taste good if you just take a little time to learn how to cook it. But
Yep.
it's such a protein source, and
Yep.
and yeah, and
Agreed.
just also so really the meal planning and um, the portions and the multiple meals, I think, is really important, and it's a really easy way for me to stay on track.
And there's one last thing I want to add to
Yes.
that is that the grazing is important. But then I've also, when I went to school, a big thing that they taught me was only eat every 4 to 5 hours. And their rationale for that was, you want to have your body fully digest and metabolize the energy from that previous meal before you consume another. But I think that is primarily relevant when the meal sizes are larger, right?
Right, like that. Yeah, if you're
And
eating 8 ounces instead of 4 ounces of chicken.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, with that in mind, Laura, I think that the big thing is when we're discussing grazing, we're not talking you're eating 200 calories, 20 minutes later, you're eating 100, then half hour later, you're eating 100. You are having, 2 hours, probably on average, right?
Yeah.
2.5, 3 hours in between meals. You're getting your recommended roughly 7 hours of sleep a night. You're eating pretty early in the morning, and then you're having a couple hours, at least
Yeah.
a few hours before bed, to digest your final meal. But that's important. There's a balance, a
Yeah.
full balance of
Yes.
of not just munching constantly and
Yeah.
mindlessly without breaks. You're giving your stomach a rest,
Hmm.
but also you're not going 4, 5, 6 hours without eating during your waking hours.
Pretty sure this was with the discussion with you is generally when I'm planning, I make it every 2 hours. But sometimes, for whatever reason, a particular ingredient is more calorie dense than another. So when I'm really tracking and monitoring, if I look at it and I say, oh, this is 200 calories, I'm like, okay, that's good. Maybe I wait an hour for every 100 calories.
Yeah.
So if one of my meals is a little bit more rich and say it's 300 calories and not 200 calories, then I'll wait 3 hours.
Yeah.
And
Very good point.
yeah, that seems to, and that's the same thing. Like I remain satisfied.
Yeah.
And I have learned, because although sometimes on the lazy side, like I love salad. It'd be really easy for me to reach in, just make a salad. I enjoy it. I love it. I have my flavored vinegars
Yep.
that I use, but my salads can be very low calorie. And so, and even though I'm like, ooh, I like that and I think that's great, I know I have to add my protein to it.
Yep.
And so that's important too, is that because if I ate 300 calories without protein, I am going to get hungry
Yep.
in an hour. So that protein is really important too. So putting the protein in every meal.
And that's the
very
biggest
important.
thing that fights the hunger too.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good advice. Anything else you want to say for the audience before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your time today, guys. Please be sure to subscribe if you got value out of this video. Comment below if you have any subjects or any questions you'd like us to address in the future. And I hope you guys have an amazing day.